What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another banger, okay? This is my first video using my new webcam, okay? So the camera quality, it should look better. I know it's not a, a ton better, but it is better, okay? It's a 1080p camera. I think I was recording in like 720p for a long time. So yeah, shout out to my girlfriend. Great Christmas gift. But with that being said, guys, I'm gonna do this video because I feel very strongly about my picks here, and let me convince you guys, okay? If you guys didn't see the thumbnail, I have my face in the way right now. Let me move it out of the way, okay? These are fighters that I think are going to have a rough 2024, all right? For one reason or another, I think some fighters will go on losing streaks. I think some fighters may win one, lose one, but you know, their essence, their aura won't really be there anymore. And that's what I'm going to get into, guys. Fighters that I think are going to have a fall off this year. And I think we're going to see quite a few, I guess you could say, main characters retire from the UFC. And yeah, with that being said, let me put my camera in the right place and let's get into the list. I forgot I put this slide. I was about to get straight into it. But before we get into it, I just want to set the bar clear, okay? I don't want any confusion about what I mean here, okay? I'm not saying all of these fighters are going to go on Tony Ferguson type losing streaks. That's not the case. I think some will, but I'll make that clear when we get to them. I'm doing this based off of who they are and what we typically expect out of them. You know what I mean? Like, an example that I'm thinking of while saying this is Kamaru Usman. You know, 2021, that guy had 3 title defenses. 2022, one fight, gets knocked out cold. That's a bad year for what we're used to from Usman, you know what I mean? Now, it's only one fight, and he was winning that fight, but from what we expect, that is a massive decline. So if a fighter wins like 3 fights in 1 year, and then goes like 1-1 the next year, it's obviously a decline. It's not a horrible decline, but they are... I hope you guys get what I'm saying. They're losing their groove, all right? They're starting to fall off. And, all right, so now we will get into this list, starting with Alexander Volkanovski. Okay, this is one where I hope I am wrong. I really like Volkanovski. I've been a fan of him for a while. A lot of guys were, you know, pro Holloway for all 3 of their fights, which is completely understandable. But once Volk won the second fight, I was like, all right, I think Volk is here to stay. I think he legitimately won that fight. The last 3 rounds, he won that fight. That's a whole other discussion, but let's get into why Volkanovski is likely going to have a decline. All right, he is too eager to fight. You know what I mean? And he's one of those guys where he's just such a competitor, and, you know, it is what it is. How's the camera look? But I don't like the fact that he will be fighting 4 months after getting knocked out. 4 months. That is horrible. Like, we've seen it work for some guys. I know someone in the comments may be like, oh, well, look at Alex Pereira. That's the most recent example I can think of someone turning around quickly after getting KO'd. But then again, Alex Pereira, that was one of his first times ever getting knocked out cold. I think it was. I don't think he's ever been knocked out cold in kickboxing. I know he's been TKO'd, but you can say the same for Volkanovski, but the thing that trumps all arguments is Pereira moved up 20 pounds. You know what I mean? That's a 20-pound difference that you're not cutting anymore. And you guys know the more weight you cut, the weaker the chin. So 4 months after getting knocked out in the next weight division, you're coming back down. I don't think Volk is chinny. I know the Weasel has been saying that Volk is chinny. I saw that video and thought it was a little wild. Volk maybe gets hit, but Volk is not chinny yet. He might be. We don't know it. I think Topuria has knockdown power, and I think Topuria will knock down Volk, and I think he's going to TKO Volk. I don't think he's going to put him out cold, but I think, you know, in those earlier rounds, I think Topuria, I hate to say it, guys, I think Topuria is going to finish Volk. Volk is too focused on being that type of guy. You know, you can't bully me, son. I'm the type of guy. That's Volkanovski for you. And I know, horrible impression, but Volk is just too Volk, man. Volk. And my last point here is I feel like if Topuria beats Volk in February, I think he's going to beat him twice. I think it's going to be like when Max Holloway lost to Volkanovski, when Aldo lost to Holloway. It's like the dominant champ. They lose, they rematch, and they get finished again. Of course, Volk didn't finish Max for that analogy, but the Aldo and Holloway, Holloway finished him twice. All right, I'm kind of yapping at this point. Volkanovski, I see him going on a downfall. I don't want to be right. I hope I am wrong. I'm open to being wrong. If I'm wrong, come back to this video and criticize me because I will have deserved it for doubting Volk. I've doubted Volk before and have been proven wrong, but we're moving on to Colby Covington. Where do we even start with Colby Covington, guys? There used to be so many Colby Covington glazers and just absolute meat riders that would talk about how, oh, Colby Covington, he just gets it there and he wrecks everybody. He just melts all these guys. Who the fuck has he melted? As far as I'm concerned, his best win is over RDA. It was a 48-47 competitive fight. And then Colby's last 3 wins have been against guys over 38 years old and coming off of 2 losses, okay? I know you guys probably know that, but in case you don't, I mean, that's just the facts. Colby has always been overrated to me. He does have tremendous pressure. He is a amazing cardio up until his last fight. Like, you can't deny the skills that he does showcase. It's just the guys that he's beating. I'm not saying he's a can crusher, but he's only beaten guys who are on the decline, okay? When he fights someone in their prime like Usman, he loses. Fights someone like Leon in his prime, he loses. How much of that was ring rust? I don't know. I do expect Colby to look better in his next fight, but I don't think... Who does Colby beat? I don't see Colby winning another fight right now. I think everyone in the top 10 has a really good chance, unless Colby comes back looking like his old self, like the guy who fought Lawler, like the guy who fought Usman the first time. Who is Colby gonna beat, guys? I was pulling up the top 10 to like be confident in my statement that I have on the slide there, and I literally think from Ian Gary, who's number 10, all the way up to anyone above him, I think Colby gets beat by all of them. His grappling is too ineffective these days because, like I said, it could because of the ring rust, but in his last fight, he just looked so awful. The cardio was not there anymore. He wasn't even capable of applying pressure, that relentless pressure that Colby's known for, the chain wrestling. That's what I was worried about going into this fight, the chain wrestling. How is Leon going to deal with chain wrestling? Colby can't chain wrestle anymore. He had the opportunity of a lifetime to do it, and it just wasn't able to happen. So I think Colby is way too slow on the feet to apply any sort of pressure, let alone any damage. Like, I do not think Colby Covington's ever going to knock anyone out, you know what I mean? So yeah, and I know that Leon is a really good striker, but there's a lot of really good strikers. These really good strikers with good takedown defense, they're going to see everything coming at them, and Colby's going to be an easy fight, all right? Unless he fights someone like Wonderboy, who I do think he can beat Wonderboy, but I still might pick Wonderboy to win that fight, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think if he takes some easy, lame-ass fight, some big money fight, like a Masvidal rematch, I think, maybe he could win one of those. But overall, guys, I think Colby is going 0-1 this year, and I think he's likely going to retire. I know he said in the interviews leading up to the Edwards fight that he has years left in the UFC. He's got a ton of fights he wants to do. Yeah, I don't think he's going to have that same type of spirit after losing, because he's a guy where being the best, being the world champion drives him. And now that he's had 3 unsuccessful title shots, I think he's going to become unfocused, and I think he's just going to get more and more beatable as time goes on. So that's what I think. And with that being said, guys, let's move on to the next fighter on the list. I'm going Henry Cejudo. All right, I think Henry Cejudo is going to have a rough decline, and that's not saying too much because he did go 0-1 in 2023, which by the time this comes out will be last year. Happy New Year. So I know that the bar wasn't set super high for Henry Cejudo. However, his own bar for himself is super high. You know what I mean? Henry thinks of himself as like Henry thinks he's on the Mount Rushmore of MMA. He thinks he's top 5 all time. I'm willing to debate he's maybe not even top 15. Okay? Definitely not top 10. If you want to put him in your top 15, fine. Top 20, for sure. Top 15, I don't think so. So, Cejudo, guys, Cejudo has no reason to fight anymore. Unless he truly was, running out of money and came back. Why is this guy still fighting? I mean, he retired in his prime, and I think he's just came back a little too late. He has no reason to fight anymore, and I get the vibe that he's just coming back because he's bored. You know what I mean? And his disguise for that is just going to be, oh, I'm such a competitor. I was out of the cage, and I had to get back to it. I think it's funny that you say that around the same time you have a kid. Kids are expensive. And, all of a sudden, Henry Cejudo's back in the mix. I'm not saying he's broke at all. Don't fucking run with that, all right? But he just lost to Aljo. Not just, but he lost to Aljo in May. And in my opinion, he clearly lost that fight. I had that fight 4-1 live. Upon revisiting it, I can understand the argument that you make for a 3-2 for Aljo. But I think no matter what, that fight goes to Aljo. And I was actually surprised it was a split decision. I thought it would have been unanimous. But, it is what it is. How does Henry beat Merab? What is he going to do? Okay? Like, I just don't see it, guys. 38 by the time this fight happens, I think. I know he's 37 now, but if he turns 38, what guys have success at bantamweight at 38 years old? I mean, I'm just being real, okay? And I don't think Merab is a spring chicken either. I actually don't know Merab's age, but he just lost to the worst version of Merab, right? Aljo. And now we're just expecting Henry to go in there, and what's he going to do? Knock out Merab? Merab has a really good chin. Merab, I wouldn't say an iron chin. He's been dropped before, but he's recovered. You know what I mean? Merab has a really good chin. His cardio is insane. It probably is the best cardio in the UFC currently, because the only other argument you could have made was Covington, and we see where his cardio's at right now. It's shit. Or at least his output is shit. We don't really know about his cardio because he did make it all 5 rounds. That's besides the point. I don't see Henry going in there with his karate stance, putting his arms out like this and, swivel him around and gauging the distance. I don't see him doing that against Merab. Is Henry Cejudo some sort of knockout artist? Are we just going to expect him to chin Merab, who has never been chinned, actually? I don't think he's ever been chinned. And then what's he going to do about the pace? The pace from Merab, it breaks guys. Look at what he did to Petr Yan. Okay, that's the best example. I know Merab's other fights were kind of boring. You can't really say he melted Jose Aldo, but he did melt the fuck out of Petr Yan. And do you think Cejudo would beat Petr Yan? I don't think so. I know MMA math isn't great, but I mean, come on now. Seriously. How does this guy beat Merab? His karate on the feet, he's just too powerful? No. Oh, well, his Olympic gold medal. He's an Olympic gold medal wrestler. Okay. Guess who doesn't give a fuck about that? Merab. Merab is just going to go in there and shoot 80 takedowns in 3 rounds. Probably stuff. Jeez, if Merab throws 80 takedowns, how many of them get stuffed? I don't know. Merab will probably only land like 4 takedowns this entire fight, but it's the cardio. It's the way he's coming at you. It's the way he doesn't let up. Henry Cejudo, I've been yapping for a while on this fight, fighter. Henry Cejudo, I don't see him doing well this year. He's fighting Merab. I think he's going to lose. I think he could maybe beat someone like Chito Vera if they try to put that fight together again. But, I mean, let's say Cejudo loses to Merab. He's also lost to Aljo. Where's Cejudo going to be at coming in off of 2 losses at 38 years old against someone like Chito Vera, who will probably lose to O'Malley, and then wants to get back in the win column. I think Chito Vera would chin him. So I don't see Henry Cejudo having a great year. I like Henry Cejudo. I don't think he's horrible. I know a lot of guys hate on him, but I'm fine with Henry Cejudo. I just don't see him doing well. I don't. All right, now that yapping is over, let's get into Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is a guy where I don't think he's going to have a horrible year, but I wanted to put him on here just in case I'm right. It'll be fun to look back at. And if I'm completely wrong, then I'm wrong. You know what I mean? That's a part of being an MMA YouTuber, is you put your opinion out there and you're vulnerable to being clowned. And I'm getting used to it more and more. So I don't give a fuck. I'm putting Adesanya on this list. I think he's going to go 1-1 this year. And if we're going to get very specific, I see two options for him going 1-1. I think he will either lose to Khamzat Chimaev and then win against someone just out of the top 5. Maybe even like Brendan Allen. I could see him getting a win there, but Brendan Allen might beat him. Long story short, lost to Chimaev, win against someone out of the top 5 that he hasn't fought before, or maybe it is a rematch. I don't know. Or he'll win against Khamzat, because that's also very likely. I think the Khamzat fight is a 50-50, genuine coin flip. And then he'll lose the title shot. If Strickland has the belt, I don't see Adesanya being able to do anything to Strickland if he couldn't in the last fight where he had 5 rounds. I know people like to say, oh, contender Izzy. Contender Izzy is a more hungry fighter because he actually has something to fight for. But Strickland is just hard to fucking hit. And then let's say it's Adesanya versus Duplessis, which if Duplessis wins next month, it will be Adesanya Duplessis. It's going to depend on how Duplessis looks in that fight, right? But, I mean, I don't think he would beat Duplessis because I think Duplessis is just a fucking bull. I think he's just iron chin, doesn't give a fuck. And, yeah, I would pick Dricus to beat Izzy if Izzy wins against Khamzat. I hope my explanation there makes sense. This is going to be a long video. I've been rambling for a while, guys. But, anyways, yeah. I just don't see him becoming champion again unless someone he's already beaten gets the belt. Like fucking Jared Cannonier gets the belt. Robert Whittaker somehow gets the belt. Then I can see it happening. But as of right now, I think Izzy's going 1-1 this year. He'll either beat Chimaev and then lose, or lose to Chimaev and then beat someone else. But I think that Chimaev fight, I think that's kind of a lock. I've heard that it was in early talks. I don't know for sure yet, but I would love to see that fight. Anyways, guys, let's move on to Bryce Mitchell. All right, now, this one, it hurts, all right? I like Bryce Mitchell. He's a fucking goofball. He's a weird character, but he's interesting. He's fun. I like him. It's always fun to listen to a Bryce Mitchell interview. And, you just can't take him too serious. He's one of those guys. But the last KO that he took at UFC 296, which I predicted to happen, is a career changer. All right, it's a career changer. And I know it was delivered from Josh Emmett, who is like definitely the hardest hitter in that division. I know that not everyone hits like Josh Emmett, but at the same time, that was bad. That was really bad. Like, that might be enough to just soften Bryce Mitchell's chin, and then he's getting chinned by Max Holloway type shit, you know what I mean? Which Max hits hard. But I hope I'm making sense there. I know 1 KO isn't the end of the world for guys. Again, I can bring up Alex Pereira, guy who came back from that. But this is the featherweight division, and now that he's been cracked hard, I see other guys that maybe hit half as hard as Josh Emmett being able to crack that chin. And I do still think Bryce probably beats every unranked featherweight. Maybe not Diego Lopez, but I mean, and I think he beats the guys under him in the rankings. But as far as Bryce Mitchell against like top 5 guys, top 7 guys, I don't see it going all that well. I don't see him having too much success. And I think he's going to go 0-1 next year. I think he's going to wait a while to fight into next year. And then maybe like the 3rd quarter of next year, fight again, lose. And yeah, Of course, it depends on who he fights, but that's my prediction for Bryce Mitchell. My tone is getting a little somber. I like Bryce Mitchell. It'll suck to see him go out bad, but I do hope he can make a comeback. It's just hard to see him winning again after that Emmett KO. All right, moving on to the final fighter of the video is Conor McGregor. Okay, there are people out there who think Conor McGregor is just gonna come back and win the belt. What are you guys smoking? Come on. I do not think that Conor McGregor is an elite fighter currently. I think he's only elite when he has a goal, a dream to chase. You know, when he entered the UFC, it was all about becoming the double champion. He had that to motivate him. He lost to Diaz. He was willing to go through a grueling training camp to get that one back because he had to make his dreams come true. But now that Conor McGregor has made all the money in the world and his dreams have came true, I do not think that Conor McGregor is an elite fighter. Okay, all this guy does is party. He's always at his fucking pub, and he's always drinking his whiskey, all right? As we see in this picture right here, he's got a big blunt in his hand. He's always drinking, he's always smoking, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing some other party drugs, you know what I mean? But this guy just... Every so often, there will be like new Conor McGregor sparring footage, and he'll look good in the footage, and everyone was like, oh, the Mac is back, the Mac is back. Who is he sparring against? PFL fighter? Bellator fighter? What weight class are they in? Oh, they're a featherweight? Conor McGregor's not a featherweight anymore. Oh, they're a bantamweight? Obviously, McGregor's going to wobble them around, and I think it's really just to keep his confidence up. I think his IQ on the feet is probably still up there. Obviously, it's not horrible. This guy is a former champion, and he has a ton of knockouts on his record. He's obviously above average when it comes to striking, but he will never have another grueling, hard training camp where he builds skills. You know what I mean? He's always going to be stagnant, and with his lifestyle, he's only going to get worse, okay? I hope I'm making sense there, but why would Conor McGregor want to go through the hard wrestling rounds? You know what I mean? Why would Conor McGregor want to, you know, practice submission escapes? You know, practice getting up, reversing positions. He just wants to get in there. He wants to throw his big hook and, you know, keep his guard up high and walk around like a boxer. That's how he trains. That's what he wants to do. And I think everyone in his gym is a yes man. They don't want to get kicked out of the inner McGregor circle. You know what I mean? I think in his gym, guys probably just let him get takedowns. They probably just let him get submissions. And then, you know, the gym gives him a black belt. And it's like, Conor McGregor is a black belt. We all know that black belt is bullshit. And Conor McGregor was probably just having a rough day. And I think these training partners, they just do enough to keep Conor's head in the clouds where he thinks he's still some elite fighter. He's not, guys. I am a McGregor fan. McGregor got me into this sport like it did for so many guys. I think Conor is going to be going 0-1 this year, okay? When he's fighting someone who really wants it and needs the money and needs that name on their resume, I think Conor McGregor will wilt at the first sign of adversity. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he has a performance, if he has a Donald Cerrone performance. You guys remember, Cerrone melted in front of McGregor the first sign of adversity, the first time he got hit hard. I see McGregor wilting. He's going to get hit, he's going to get taken down and be like, I don't have to be here. I have the Lambo waiting for me outside. I get to go home to my mansion with my kids. And Conor's just going to look for a way out in there. All right, I think the Khabib fight changed his mentality forever. And I think Conor can beat Chandler. I'll give you guys that one. Conor can beat Chandler, and if he has a serious training camp, I actually think it's a pretty 50-50 fight, more because of Chandler's fight IQ than anything. I can see him just going in there and being stupid and getting like front kick KO'd or something. But I think Chandler is going to likely beat him, and then if he beats Chandler, maybe his confidence will be back and he'll be able to win more fights, but when he fights someone like Gaethje beats him, Poirier beats him again, Oliveira smokes him in a round. Are you kidding me? I don't think McGregor is living a lifestyle that is conducive to being a good fighter, and I think he's going 0-1 this year. I don't think he'll retire. I think he'll go 0-1 and then maybe try and fight Diaz in like 3 years. You know what I mean? I think he even loses to Diaz. I think Diaz would beat him currently. And I think there's a ton of guys who would beat Conor McGregor. I know a lot of people think like, oh, well, McGregor, he's just inactive. You know, he's still probably like a top 15 fighter. I think everyone in that top 15 can probably get him out of there. And that's my opinion on Conor McGregor, man. I think he's going to have a bad year. If he even fights, that is. Okay, he did just say he wants to fight International Fight Week, June 29th. Maybe. Until I see him in the octagon, I'm not going to believe it. But anyways, guys, who did I miss? Alright, let me know what you guys thought of the video. Let me make myself a little bigger for the outro. Okay, so yeah, who did I miss? I think there are many fighters that you can do this for and put them on this list. But I think these are the most likely ones, and these guys are high profile. And you know what? Maybe like halfway through the year, I'll make this video again, so we can kind of check up on the guys I put on here. And then as time goes on, we'll have more guys to put on the list. And so yeah, I might make this video again in the latter half of next year. But yeah, let me know where I got it wrong, where I fucked up, or where I got it right in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope the camera quality looks good. It is dark outside, and it's dark in my room, so it probably doesn't look the greatest, but I'm yapping at this point, guys. Happy New Year. Have a good one.